Hello students, how do you do? I'm happy to be back with another video, Unit 32 of Class 11's Compulsory English question answer series from poem number 5. That is the last poem of this book, and the title of the poem is The Gift in Wartime. Students, let's begin. Turn to page 255. Understanding the text. Answer the following questions. A. Who is the speaker addressing, and why can that person not hear or understand what she is saying? Answer. The speaker is a lady and she is addressing to her husband sitting near his tomb. As her husband is dead and lying inside the coffin, he cannot hear or understand what she is saying. B. What can you infer about the speaker's feelings for the person addressed as you? Answer. The speaker or the woman has lots of love and devotion for her husband who is addressed as you in the poem. Her husband has died in a war. C. What is the speaker's attitude towards war? Answer. The speaker is very negative towards war. She lost her husband in the American-Vietnamese War. She thinks that not any gift or reward of any kind can compensate the loss of his husband in the war. War doesn't do good to anyone, so it should be stopped. D. In what ways do you think this person's faith has affected the speaker? Answer. We do not know what is written in our destiny, what kind of faith we are born with. Like the speaker in the poem has lost her loving husband in the war. This is her faith, and it has made her very sad and desperate. She feels very miserable and hopeless when she goes to pay homage or reverence to her husband in the graveyard. E. What does the speaker promise at the end of the poem? Why do you think the speaker does this? Answer. The speaker apologizes to her husband and promises to meet him in their next life. She makes this promise as they cannot see each other in their life, as she lost her husband in a war. She loves him very much and is very devoted to him. Now, nothing can bring her husband back to her in this life, so she hopes to meet him in their next life. Now, reference to the context. A. What is the theme of the poem? Answer. The main theme of the poem is war and its negative effects. War doesn't do good to anyone in this world. Millions of people die in the war, leaving their near and dear ones completely shattered and helpless. No gifts and awards of any kind can compensate the loss of human lives in the war. So, war should be stopped. It is the curse to the people both living and killed in the war. This message is clearly depicted in the poem. B. What imagery from the poem made the greatest impression on you? Why? Answer. There are different imagery used in the poem as a literary device to create a visual impact on the reader's mind. Some examples of the imagery used in the poem are tomb still green with grass, medals together with silver stars, yellow pips on your badge, unused and still shining, your lips with no smile, your arms without tenderness, your eyes with no sight, and your motionless body, and many others. The most touching imagery for me is a widow kneeling in front of the tomb of her husband who died in the war and talking to him with a great pain in her heart. This imagery is very tragic and sorrowful and has made a deep impression on me. If there was no war in the world, people would not have to face this kind of situation in their life. People die due to old age, accidents, and various diseases. Their near and dear ones can accept these kinds of deaths as they are natural, inevitable, and indispensable. But why should young, healthy, and innocent people die in a war? War must be stopped, as men, no matter how superior, intelligent, and clever he is, he has no right to play with the lives of other human beings. We know that war doesn't do good to anyone, so it must be banned around the world. No one should lose their near and dear ones in the war. Which figurative language is used in the poem? Explain with examples. Answer: the use of language which differs from the literal meaning of words is called the figurative language. Irony, apostrophe, anaphora, and metaphor are used in this poem as figurative language. Number 1, irony. When words or phrases used in the poem implies an opposite meaning, we say it is an irony. The poet has mentioned the gifts of wartime as the dead body of husband, the medals and badges awarded to him for his bravery in the war, a gift of blood-smelled war dress of the dead person, the blood stains of his husband and his friend on his husband's uniform. They are described as the gifts of wartime. This is an example of an irony found in this poem. Number 2, apostrophe. Apostrophe means such a case when the person being addressed in the poem is not present in it. Like, for example, the speaker is talking to her dead husband. She is expressing her grief and sorrow to him who is not present there. Only his dead body is present there. Number 3, anaphora. Anaphora means when the words or phrases appear more than once in a poem. Like, I offer you, this phrase appears 3 times, that is, in the first, third, and fifth stanza of the poem. Number 4, metaphor. When something is compared to another quite different thing as the same, we call it a metaphor. Like, for example, in the poem, medals and badges are compared to wartime gifts. Springtime of life are compared to her youth. And other examples of metaphors used in this poem are clouds that linger on her eyes on summer days are compared to her happy days of her past, and lips with no smile, arms without tenderness, eyes with no sight, and a motionless body are some metaphors used for her husband's dead body. D. What does the speaker offer in this poem? What does the person addressed as you give in return? Answer: the speaker offers roses, her wedding gown, her youth, her summer days, and cold winters in her springtime of life to her husband who died in a war, and his dead husband, who is addressed as you in the poem, gives her in return his lips with no smile, his arms without tenderness, his eyes with no sight, and his motionless body, along with medals with silver stars, new shining badge, and his blood-smelling war dress with his and his friends' bloodstains in it. E. An apostrophe is a literary device in which a writer or speaker addresses an absent person or an abstract idea in such a way as if it were present and can be understood. Discuss the poem in relation to apostrophe. Answer: an apostrophe means a literary device in which the writer addresses the absent person in a way as if he is present in the poem and can understand her. In this poem, The Gift in Wartime, the speaker uses an apostrophe by talking to her dead husband as if he was alive and listening to her. By doing so, she was able to express her buried feelings and unbearable sorrow and grief. By using this kind of literary device, the poet is able to convey an important message to the readers, that is, what kind of negative effects war brings to the people and why war should be stopped in this world. Now, reference beyond the text. A. One way to get relief from grief is to write or talk about it. In your opinion, how might the speaker in this poem have benefited from saying what she did? Explain. Answer: yes, one can get relief from grief by writing or talking about it. Elderly people say that we should share our sorrows and pain with others in order to come out of it. The speaker in this poem goes to his dead husband's graveyard, and by sitting in front of his tomb, she talks to him as if he was alive and listening to her. I think, in my opinion, by doing so, she benefited. She must have felt very light at heart after expressing her feelings in the poem. By using various literary devices, she is successful at creating such a tragic and sorrowful situation in the poem that she has won the hearts and sympathy of the readers. I can say that she is quite successful in conveying an important message to the world that there are many negative effects of war. Millions of innocent people are killed in a war, leaving their family and near and dear ones completely shattered and helpless. Not any wartime gifts described in the poem can compensate the loss that people have to bear due to the death of their dear ones. So war is not a good thing and it should be completely stopped in the world. B. Write an essay on the effects of war. Students, I will not write the essay itself, otherwise all your essays will be the same. So I will give you just 5 ideas that will help you to write this essay. With these ideas and plus, add up your own ideas and write an essay of your own, your original essay. Number 1, millions of lives are lost in a war, disbalancing the population of the world. Number 2, a great number of properties are destroyed and there is a huge material loss in the world, which adversely affects the world economy. Number 3, the family, the near and dear ones of the people who are killed in a war are left completely shattered mentally and they face great sorrow and frustrations in their life. Number 4, not any kind of wartime gifts such as medals and badges or honorary awards or monetary awards can compensate the loss of human life. Number 5, war causes lots of environmental pollution, which brings about different kinds of diseases and epidemics in the world. Also, many people die from poverty and starvation after the war. This is all for today, students. We have come to the end. and see you all in my next class.